Welcome to Grief Heals, the podcast that explores how grief heals. Join us as we consider how grief invites love within ourselves, our communities, our world, our histories, and how it is that grief heals. I'm Lisa Michelle Zega here with Eric Simpson. All right. Well, today, welcome to another episode of Grief Heals, where we explore exactly how it is that grief heals, how it connects us with ourselves, with one another, with our communities, right? All right, so this morning I woke up at 4:30 a.m. and that's my normal rising time, but I've been off rhythm. So slowly my body has been adjusting to wake up on its own at 4:30, but I woke up with a headache. And I think that's because I chose to fast yesterday and I'm choosing to fast today and I'm choosing to fast tomorrow. But my head, oh my goodness, it was just pounding. So I moved slowly into the day, and then I chose to do my 108 bows slowly. And then I had my coffee prematurely before my water, no problem. Then I went outside into the sunlight at 5 something this morning, because that's actually how I've been getting myself back into my rhythm, is getting into the sunlight as soon as, I can. And then my body just resets itself naturally. Boy, I'm rambling and I am trusting that there are no tangents. So let me just come back to myself. Yeah, and I had this sense of like, you should be meditating. Oh, and then I went on Facebook. Oh, you should not be doing this, right? You should be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. And I'm literally at war with reality, because reality is, whether I should or shouldn't, that's beside the point. I was on Facebook. I was not meditating. And all the shoulds and shouldn'ts were not helping me to do anything different. But here's what happened. I read a message that just cheered my heart. I have a dear friend who's actually one of my bestest besties, just a powerful influence in my life. And he died December 25th, Christmas of 2017. This was Charlie. And I'm getting a little choked up. So this morning I woke up to a message from one of his daughters. And she was telling me that she's been listening to the podcast and what it has meant to her. And I can't even tell you what that meant to me, because this is a little girl. Charlie had 7 kids. This is the youngest of his daughters, and he had all girls, then all boys, right? So she's the youngest. She's the transition kid from girl to boy. Anyway, she's been in my life in some kind of way since she was in her mama's womb. And it was just really, really touching, And just yesterday, one of his boys called me. So the timing was really wild. I was going to tell this other story, but it feels like it might be too private, so I'm going to refrain. Anyway, so that's how I started my day. And then I decided to take my dog on a bike ride, and I listened to a Rob Bell podcast. I love Rob Bell. I was kind of late to the Rob Bell party. I had a friend, well, I guess it was about 2010, but I just never really started, like, I didn't read his books. I don't know when he started his podcast, whatever. But then fast forward, and around 2017, a girlfriend of mine started talking about him, and I can't remember what book. Oh God, I can't remember the book title, but anyway, I it'll come to me. I read the book, and then it's one where he tells some about his life story. It was a precious book. I remember that, and then I started to listen to his podcast. And then more recently, I read about a year ago. I don't know exactly because time sometimes just collapses on me. But where'd you park your spaceship? And I love, I love that book. And so I don't listen to him regularly, and I'm so grateful for when I do. So this morning, the podcast I listened to was called Death, Fists, and Feels. Oh my gosh, that man, he's just got such a turn of phrase. And so I got inspired. And that's actually what brought me to the podcast this morning. So, guess what? I want you to know that I still have not meditated. And I'm just letting that land. Like, yeah, this is the actual truth. And I have been pretty mindfully aware of what's going on inside me, outside of me. I had an incredible conversation with Jesse, a man that I met in the park who walks for a couple of hours every day. And he picks up trash and he recycles. And oh my gosh, we have the most alive conversations. And he gives the very best hugs. Mm, so good. And okay, so let's see. Death, fists, and feels. Now, I'm not going to, try to be Rob Bell or tell you exactly what he said. I'm going to tell you how things are alive inside of me after listening to this and what kind of emerged and what I'm thinking about. I will put a link though to the podcast because I just think that it will do you good to have a listen. So, and if you do listen to the podcast, I mean, I want to hear about it. I'd like to talk about it. Okay. But one of the things he talked about that was so fascinating was how many cells die and rejuvenate in our body every single day so that we can say, and I've heard this before, like it's like we literally have a brand new body every 7 to 10 years. So obviously the body is not us. But then if we are saying, well, who is Lisa? And I point to her, I point to me, and I'm pointing to this body. And yet this body is coming and going, right? Like I'm getting a new body. And so the body is not me. But one of the things that I was thinking about and engaging before this podcast, just it's sort of been tickling my brain a little bit, is how death and life are linked and how they are so bound together that in one sense it's like, well, what is death and what is life? And there's a tree behind me. And this tree represents all the seasons, right? So it's got spring and summer and autumn and winter. And I love looking at this tree. I love this is what, when people are talking to me, they are looking at this tree because it represents so much. And one of the things is this winter scene. It's like it's gray and it's dark and there's snow. And then there's this ground, and the ground beneath is even dark. And what it elicits in me is, wait a minute, what is falling from this tree? What is letting go? What is being absorbed into the soil? What is working underground is birthing what I see on the other side of this tree, which is life, which is spring, which is color. And I feel like this engagement lives in my body, that death and life are always meeting, are always kissing in the same way that grief and love. So on the one hand, I can say, okay, well, there is death and there is life. And then there's this other reality that they are together. They are one. So, and what that's evoking in me, like these other concepts of like, well, what is empty and what is full? And when I feel empty, like, well, what if that's not a problem? What if it's just how it is? And that, what if it's even necessary? Because, well, what is it to fill if I don't have an emptiness to make full? What is off track and what is on track? What is right and what is wrong? What is good and what is bad? And I'm not coming with like answers. I'm coming with queries. Like, these are just things I'm sitting with. And this concept of, well, what is the void? Because what I recognize for myself, and this is all in this death and life conversation for me, because I'm often, well, I'm not this anymore, but I'm not that. And I feel like I'm in this liminal space, this in between, this limbo sensation in my body. But one of the things that Rob Bell said today was, Rob Bell, that sounds so formal, but you know, it's not like we're on a first name basis, although I could presume, right? So Rob and I, we were in a discussion, even though he didn't know it. I converse with him on a regular basis. So anyway, Rob and I are talking. And he says, it's like we've got this idealized version of ourselves, and we think if I could be that person, then everything would be better. And what an illusion that is, right? Because I can only ever be the Lisa that I am now. So whatever this imaginary elusive Lisa is, that if she were doing my life, oh my gosh. So here's what I'm thinking. I think that illusion of ourselves, that idealized version of ourselves, that, oh, if she was running the show, then everything would be good. I think it's this quest to avoid pain. Oh my gosh, that's actually what I think should. So Rob Bell, I did it again. Robbie boy, Robbo, he was talking about the work of Byron Katie, his friend. He was talking about living in reality as it is. And he quoted her and he said that she says, okay, whenever you fight with reality, reality wins. And what is reality? Reality is just whatever is, right? She wrote a book that I have read several times called Loving What Is. She's written several books, but this is the one that is top of my brain. And I highly recommend Loving What Is, Byron Katie. But isn't that where so much of our battle is it's like, I've got this idealized version of myself, and what she's offering is an escape from my pain. See, if you could be her, you wouldn't feel the feels you're currently feeling. If you could be this idealized version of yourself. The thing is, I can only be who I am in a given moment. Now I can shift. I feel this conversation in my head going, well, you're not just stuck being exactly how you are. Yeah, true. And I get to stop and give the awareness, the love, right? I believe grief is love. And where my pain is, where my grief lives, that's the place that I get to give. I get to give my attention. Oh, I see you. I see you, baby girl. I see that hurts. I see that you're angry. I see that fill in the blank. And just to feel that for a moment, or however many moments the feeling is alive in me. So my brain is doing a twisty, turny, scrambly, and I am trusting that you can come with me, because I am not speaking in a linear fashion. So I'm going to try to catch myself up. This idealized version of me is basically a way of, oh my goodness, seeking to escape the void, seeking to avoid the void, seeking to get out of the feeling of in between, the feeling of liminal space, the feeling of uncertainty or discomfort, and to not actually be with whatever is, how it is, the way I am, and honoring the moment, honoring the feel in the moment. And so when I am shoulding on myself or on others, or I'm resisting because things should not be X kind of a way, I'm doing that very thing. I am fighting reality. Reality will win. My experience of surrendering to what is to feel what I feel. And often that is some form of grief. So one of the things that Rob said today was this mantra that he uses. I feel the way that I feel is the way that I feel, right? Let's see. This feels exactly how it feels. This feels exactly how it feels. This feels exactly how it feels. And this loop that is really letting my whole body unwind and allow what is. So I mentioned, oh, I guess this was probably on Facebook, like a post. So this is new here. I mentioned that I went on a trip with my girlfriends, right? Well, I'm included in this. So there were 7 of us total, but 6 of the most, well, no, we're all amazing. Okay. 7 wonderful women were there. And this is a trip that I had been anticipating for, oh my goodness, upwards of 6 months. It was like, so anyway, something happened where we weren't all together, and we were coming together on our first collective day. And one group was late, significantly late, significant to me. And I felt angry. I was pissed. And immediately, I mean, no sooner than I felt that way, it was all the, oh, you can't feel that way. Oh my gosh, this is your girls' trip. You've been looking forward to this. These women are amazing. And I literally was just kind of pushing down what was true for me. I was fighting my own reality. So I got this massive headache. I was struggling to enjoy our time. Now we're all together and I'm trying to lean in and enjoy it. And my head is just pulsating, right? So I just said to myself, Lisa, if your headache is talking, what's it saying? And the answer was some form of, you're angry and you wouldn't let yourself feel it. So I love the phrase even though, and I came and said, all right, even though I love and appreciate these women and I'm so grateful to be with them, I also feel angry that they were late. And even though I feel angry that they were late, I love and appreciate these women. And I just sat there and I could feel it. I could feel it in my body. And then that was it. And then I'm just going about, we're doing dinner or whatever. And I was like, huh, my headache went away. Now, I wasn't trying to force my headache to go away. I know that strategy that I do, right? Where I'm like, oh, I know the trick. I'm gonna get the headache to go away because I'm gonna maneuver this way and I'm gonna. No, I wasn't doing that. I was really just, hey, I'm here. I'm here to hear. I'm here to hear. I'm here to hear. I'm ear to ear. I'm here to just notice. What I love about the phrase that he chose, and I don't even know if I'm remembering it right, but the exact phrase that he said, but I think he said, this feels exactly how it feels. That is so powerful. It's like rather than and I was thinking about that too with my body, like with physical aches and pains, right? How often like my head this morning, I didn't want to have my headache. I didn't. I didn't want my head to be pounding. I didn't want to be slowed down. And it felt exactly how it felt. And all my resistance and all my judgment and all the pushing and wanting it to go away, like what was required was just to feel it. Yeah. Yeah. It's pounding right here. What is this? My right temple. And it's like a little hammer. And oh my gosh, and it's just going and going and going like a tick tock of a clock. And it's hard to think, and oh, okay, my brain feels a little fuzzy, and okay, I'm a little bit tired. And I actually, I mean, I did. I told myself a story of why it was there. Okay, well, this is the fast, this is this is that. The story's actually not required. I can, I sometimes do, just sit with what is. Here's the wild thing about sitting with what is, it's like sitting at a river. It changes, right? We can't even look at the same river for 30 seconds. It's constantly moving. So too am I. So too am I. So too are my emotions. This feels exactly how this feels. And then the I didn't go in the same order as him, but when he talked about fists, this is the phrase he offered. Rob, I'm talking about. He said, it's like hitting yourself in the face and looking for the fists. And what came up for me is when we're shoulding on life or shouldn'ting on life, like this shouldn't be this way. My head shouldn't be pounding. My head is pounding. And all the energy of it shouldn't be, like increasing my suffering. Well, my head is pounding. The invitation is to be with what is. Whenever I fight reality, reality wins. Sometimes too, like in the body, well, I'm talking about the body, my head, allowing myself to feel whatever loss it is that I'm experiencing of how I wanted my day to start versus how it did. And just to be there with attention of the gap between what I expected of myself and how I showed up, what I expected of my body and how my body showed up. And to be right there with what is, and that awareness, that attention, I believe is bringing love. I'm constantly saying some version of grief is the roadmap for where love is wanted and needed. And so if I deny my grief, I deny where love is wanting to get in. And what if reality, and this is just coming to me, what if reality is the invitation for love. See, I think that love is all pervasive, that love, it gets into the cracks and the crevices, that love is always here, that I am made by love, that I myself am love, that I'm made for love, that I'm returning to love, that you are love, that we are love, that love is the integrative force. Love is what binds us. Love is what connects us. Love is what allows us to see that we are in fact one. And where love doesn't get in, well, that's where we experience the fragmentation. And when I'm experiencing my own loneliness, my own separation, my own sense of distance or discomfort, well, can I just give my loving attention, just giving the awareness, just letting it be? Last night we read a poem in the Healing Circle. It was called, or not was, it is called A U, Y-O-U, Shaped Whole. And it's by Tara Moore. But at the very end, she's talking about how like we can feel like the world is inhospitable, an unfriendly place, right? That is not for us. And the way she ends it, she says, what if you are meant to feel the world is inhospitable, unfriendly, off track, in just the particular ways you do? I feel like that is just an invitation to be with ourselves as we are, with a non-judgmental awareness, so that I get to be loved, you get to be loved, we get to be loved. And it's really putting into perspective Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is, as we gentle ourselves into reality. So much unnecessary suffering seems to fall away. And then I can be with the pain of what is, so that love can get into the depths of what is. And this is how I see that grief heals, that grief connects, that grief binds, that grief loves. Okay, if you'll just take a breath with me. So breathing in and out and in and out. We breathe the same air. Isn't it amazing? Oh my gosh. Okay, and if you're open, then I'm gonna invite you to open your arms out, and wrap them around. Oh, and a tight squeeze. And another breath. I will see you next week. Mwah!
You've been listening to Grief Heals with Lisa Michelle Zega. The podcast is produced by me, Eric Simpson, in association with Jump Up and Down Productions. Music by Ken Dalian, Drunken Nights to Sunday Mornings, and Stefan Carlin, A Calming Ocean, A Common Notion. If you would like more information about the work Lisa does, point your browsers to legityou.com. That's LEGITYOU. Lisa can also be reached at lisamichelle@legityou.com. This has been a Jump Up and Down production.